Welcome to a wide open space. Here, our focus is strengthening our faith, cultivating ourselves, and creating lives that we love. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Nichelle Guidry Stewart. Well, hello, my beautiful sisters, and welcome back to A Wide Open Space. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Nichelle Guidry, and it is my pleasure to welcome you back and to spend another Saturday morning with you in this powerful intersection between our faith, our spirituality, and our personal growth and development, and in this space where Black women are unapologetically centered. Over the past few weeks, we are laying a foundation and we are going somewhere, my sisters. We started out by talking about the power of naming our desires and partnering with God to bring them into manifestation. We've talked about owning your story so that you can begin to write some new chapters and turn some new pages. And today, we are moving into one of the most practical aspects of personal transformation. This is what I call sacred self-management. Now, I know that might sound like corporate speak, but hang in there with me. We're going somewhere. Because getting into and staying in your wide open space requires more than just prayer and positive thinking. I am not a fan of positive thinking, by the way. Some seasons and some transformations absolutely and unequivocally require prayerful, inspired planning and prayerful, inspired, and aligned action. And that means learning how to make some promises to yourself and creating the structures whereby you can keep them. And so today, that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about sacred self-management, what I describe as the art of stewarding your gifts, your time, and your energy in ways that honor both your calling and your humanity. This is not about grinding or hustling yourself into the ground. We are past that. We are beyond that. We recognize that while there might be a time and a place for that, it's not out in the wide open space. This is about getting clear on what God is calling you to and creating the structures to help you actually get there. Now, sisters, I know the message about rest is vital, and I am a huge proponent of that. But I also know that some of you are out here in this wide open space listening to this podcast because you have visions from God and visions in your spirit that require you to take some action. You have dreams that require structure. You have callings that demand your discipline and your devotion. And the key to learning how to manage yourself in ways that are sustainable and sacred is by making a plan to do that. The key is learning how to manage yourself in ways that are sustainable and sacred. So we're going to explore the power of written vision, promise making, and promise keeping, and how to make self-management communal instead of isolating. Because transformation is not meant to be a solo journey, and neither is the work of becoming who God has called and created you to be. So let's go to the word. We're going to go to a very famous verse in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 2. Grounding us in scripture, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, the word of God says, write the vision, make it plain on tablets so that a runner may read it and run with it. This verse comes in the middle of Habakkuk's conversation with God about some really heavy things. And one of the reasons why I still believe that scripture is a sacred text is because when we get into the context and the history behind the words, we recognize and we learn over and over again that it's still so relevant to our times. As is the case with this verse, Habakkuk is talking to God about some very heavy things, including injustice, suffering of his people, and waiting for God to take action on behalf of God's people. Habakkuk is clearly frustrated. He has been crying out to God about the violence and the wrongdoing that he sees, and he's starting to feel like God isn't listening. But in the midst of all of that frustration and in the midst of that uncertainty and waiting, God gives Habakkuk a very clear instruction. Write it down, make it clear, make it plain so that someone running past it can read it, understand it, and run off with it. And then as you go and read the rest of the chapter and read the book, because it's very short, the vision that God is giving to Habakkuk to write down is then downloaded. It is then given to him. And it is a vision for the restoration of his people. But getting back to our key verse, Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision, make it plain so that a runner may see it and read it and run off with it. There's something really profound in this verse about God commanding Habakkuk to write that vision, not just to dream it, not just to pray about it, but to write it down with such clarity and with such precision that it can guide action, even in movement, even when life is moving fast, even when running towards the destiny that is before the people of God. And here's what I love so much about this instruction. God doesn't say, just trust me and it'll all work out. God doesn't say, don't worry about the details, Habakkuk. I'll just handle that. But God says, write it down, make it plain. And that tells me that God values our partnership in bringing our God visions to life. God wants us to get clear and get specific, and most importantly, to get intentional about bringing those visions to pass. When we write our visions, write our goals, write our commitments to ourselves and our communities, something begins to shift. We move from wishful thinking to intentional planning. We create accountability to ourselves, to God, and to those who we call into our lives as accountability partners. That vision goes from living only in our heads and then shifts to becoming a reality, thereby changing our realities. But the vision that is written down becomes a covenant, a promise between us and God about what we are co-creating together. But notice once again that God does not tell Habakkuk, write it. God goes on to get specific to say, make it plain. And that means specific, clear, and actionable. Not, for example, I want to be healthier, but something with the specificity to the tune of, I'm going to walk 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Not, I want to grow spiritually, but I'll spend 15 minutes in prayer and meditation, and I will listen to a wide open space on Saturday morning before I check my phone. Not, I want to write a book someday, but I will write 500 words every Tuesday and every Thursday morning. And in the process of gaining confidence to submit that book proposal, I'm going to submit it to my Substack and I'm going to hit publish. How about that? Specificity matters. Make it plain. The instruction to make it clear, that so clear that a runner can see it and run with it, suggests urgency and also suggests movement. Your vision should be clear enough to guide you, even when you're busy, even when life gets chaotic, even when you are in the middle of all that life is serving you. You shouldn't have to stop and figure out what you meant by this vision that you wrote down. It should be plain enough that you can glance at it and know exactly what step to take next. This is the foundation of sacred self-management, getting clear about where God is calling you to be and writing it down in ways that create structure for your daily life. Let me just share a couple of thoughts here. I want to share how I have adopted this practice in my own life and what has led me to this whole entire idea around sacred self-management. And I will ground this in my transparency once again. that you are literally witnessing my sacred self-management in real time. Because over the past 2 years, I have been in what I would call a palm tree season. And that episode is coming soon. So let's put a pin right there. But I've been in my palm under a palm tree in my palm tree season. And that is a reference to Deborah in the book of Judges. And my palm tree season that has taken me off of my personal, vocational battlefields and full out on the court of life has been obviously pregnancy, childbirth, maternity leave, and getting acclimated to life as a mother. And for an ambitious woman such as myself, this was almost 2 years of turning inward and of focusing on growing life and nurturing my baby. And even though I prayed for this season and I prayed to become a mother, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be for me to put my work down and to turn completely to my calling as a mother and as a spouse. But during that palm tree season, I practiced what Habakkuk teaches. I wrote down the vision for this next and this new iteration of my ministry. You see, during this time, it became abundantly clear to me that I did not have capacity, nor did I have interest in continuing with my ministry as I had done it. And so I utilized that palm tree season to do some real dreaming and some real discerning about what my calling and what my ministry was going to look like in this new era of my life. And as I did that discernment work and as I did that inner work, I began to write my vision. And even when I wasn't actively pursuing my professional goals, that palm tree season gave me some time to get really clear about what I wanted this season to look like, what I wanted to feel like. And so I began to journal about my dreams for my family, clarifying my values, and getting, again, really clear about what kind of mother I wanted to be, even while I continued to be a scholar, to be a practitioner, to be a dean, to be a preacher, and to be all these powerful and wonderful things that I've trained my whole life to be. And I also thought about, as I looked into my future, I thought about, what would I have to leave behind in order to manifest this next vision? And as I began to think about the future me and the future ministry, and also began to do my work around what wasn't going to make it into this new space, I began to create my roadmap. My vision became my roadmap. And when it was time to get back to work, I wasn't starting from scratch. That is the advantage to the written vision. It gave me a place to start. It gave me a sense of clarity, and I knew what I wanted and what I needed. I could make some decisions quickly because I had already written down what mattered the most. The vision I cultivated in my resting season became the blueprint for my action season, which I am in now. And I want to shout out my therapist for talking me through some of this. And I want to shout out my coach, Kimberly Brown, who also became one of my most critical conversation partners as I thought about this new era of my life and my ministry. And they helped me to cultivate this vision, and they helped me to tap into the power of writing things down. And one of the things that I realized about the power of writing your vision is that it creates continuity between your seasons, between your palm tree seasons where you're called to take some time to rest and to go inward, and your action seasons when it's time to get back out on the field. This written vision helps you to remember where you're going, even when life throws you off course or throws you onto a new course. Here's what I want you to understand about sacred self-management. Writing the vision is not a one-time thing. It is an ongoing practice of sacred self-management that can happen in increments as often as weekly vision, daily vision even, or even something that is quarterly or maybe every 90 days. And that's what I've been doing. Every 90 days, I've been revisiting my vision. And I ask myself, I check in with myself, is this still true for me? Is this still my vision? what needs to shift in this vision. And if the vision is still on track, I say, what needs to shift in my life to make sure that I'm continuing to move on this vision and I'm still continuing to call it into being? What promises, most specifically, do I need to make to myself for this next season? And now, sisters, sometimes my vision is static, it stays the same. And I just need new strategies for living it out. Sometimes my vision evolves as I grow and I learn. But the practice of writing it down and making it plain keeps me honest with myself about where I'm at, how I'm doing, how I might need to recalibrate as I'm moving forward. It keeps me accountable to who I say I want to be and what I say I want to do. It keeps me moving towards what God has called me to create and who God has called me to be. And let me tell you something else about writing the vision. It makes sacred self-management communal instead of isolating. When you have a written vision, you can share this once again with your accountability partners. You can ask for specific support around specific aspects of your vision. Maybe your vision, as in my case, required some new skills, required some new structure, required some mindset shifting. Well, that written vision helps you to see where there are gaps and where there are opportunities. And it again creates a roadmap for, the upskilling or the resourcing that needs to happen so that the vision can come to pass. And if nothing else, your written vision can allow you and put you into a position to invite the people that you trust to be in prayer with you, to be in prayer for you, and invite them to check in on your progress with your vision. Before I had a vision, I had several people in my life ask, how can I support you? And I would simply say, pray for your sister. Pray for me, because I didn't really know what else to ask for. But now when people are asking me what kind of support I need, I'm able to give really specific responses. I'm able to say, hey, can you look at this vision statement? Or can you listen to an episode of my podcast? Can you let me know if it sounds natural? Can you give me some ideas about some topics that may be helpful to you for future episodes? I can get more specific when the people who love and care about me and who see me reach out to ask for my support. And so the sacred self-management that I am now practicing looks very, very different than it did before motherhood. Before motherhood, I'll be honest, I had an imaginary superwoman cape. I thought that I could do everything for myself. And one aspect and one truth of my motherhood journey is that it has humbled me and it has expanded me to invite my community into my life in ways that are substantive and in ways that are really supportive, and has thereby helped me to see that I too need the support. And can I tell you how good it feels at the ripe, wonderful age of 40 to finally admit that it feels good to need support and to have the courage to ask for it? Thanks, God, for the growth. But none of that would be possible without taking the intentional time to write down the vision and make it plain. So now let's do this exercise together. I want to lead you through a vision writing practice. And I want you to listen to this, and then I want you to take some time, maybe go, turn some worship music on and say a word of prayer, around what God has been brewing in your spirit, and making the space and availing the time to really just seep that vision into your spirit, to visualize yourself living out that calling, to actually, for a moment, just discern and to visualize what it will feel like for you to finally say yes to the dream in your heart, to the goal that is on your heart, to the vision that God, once again, has been brewing in your spirit. So let's get to the exercise. I call it the vision writing exercise. Not very original, not very creative, but you get the gist. And it is designed to help you get clear about where God is calling you and to create some structures for actually getting there. Step 1 of your exercise. This is going to be a 90-day vision. And just for clarity, I'm very sure that this is going to take you into 2026. 2026 is not that long off. And so I want you to consider over this next 90 days, that includes these holidays, that includes this turning the corner into this brand new year. I want you to think about your vision. Your vision. How do you want to land the plane of 2025? How do you want to take off in 2026? Following Habakkuk's instruction, I want you to take 30 to 60 minutes this week to write your vision for the next 90 days. Not your 5-year plan, not your life's purpose or mission statement, just the next 3 months. I want you to make it specific enough that someone running past your vision could see it, could catch it, and run off with it and implement the vision that God has given you in this earth. Write in 3 different areas. First area is your spiritual growth. How do you want to deepen your relationship with God? What practices do you want to establish or maintain? Second area, your personal growth and development. What skills, habits, or healing work do you want to focus on over these next 90 days? What do you want to learn? What do you want to improve? Are there any new opportunities that you're seeking or any new rooms that you want to be in? Final area is your purpose and your calling. What specific steps do you want to take towards your God-given purpose? What projects, what relationships, what opportunities do you want to pursue as you are pursuing your purpose? And now, as you're writing in these 3 areas, sis, I want you to make it really, really, really plain. Use very specific language. Instead of, I want to get healthier, write down, I want to exercise twice a week. I want to meal prep on Saturdays. Instead of work on my book, write 500 words every Tuesday or Thursday. I'm going to get up on those mornings and I'm going to write from 6 to 7. Create some structure and create some actionable items to actually help you make some headway in these 3 areas. Step number 2, identify your 3 key promises that you're making to yourself in these areas. Based on your 90-day vision, identify the 3 most important promises that you want to make to yourself and that you need to make to yourself. And I want you to write them out like this. For the next 90 days, I promise myself that I will wake up at 6 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays to write 500 words of my book. Okay? So, as you're writing these promises to yourself should be measurable, as in you can clearly tell if you have kept them or not. They should be achievable, as in they stretch you, but they don't set you up for failure. Number 3, they should be aligned. They directly support your written vision. For example, once again, I promise myself that I will protect my morning routine by not checking my phone until I have taken time to ground my spirit in prayer. Or I promise myself that I will say no to commitments that do not align with my 3 main priorities in my life for the next 90 days. Or I promise myself that I'll reach out to my accountability partners every week, even when I don't feel like it. Step 3, build your support structures. For each promise, identify what structures you need to keep it. Ask yourself these 4 quick questions. What needs to be in place for this to happen? What obstacles could possibly come in my way? What support do I need from others? What systems or tools would help me stay consistent? Write down your specific structures and systems. If you promise yourself to exercise 2 to 3 times a week, your structure might include, In fact, this is my very structure. I set out my gym clothes the night before. I set my alarm for 3:45 a.m. and I make sure that my water bottle is full and that my blender bottle with my protein is full. I have my keys in the exact same place so I have no problems getting out the door the next morning. And then the other piece that I want to recommend is creating your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar or your iCalendar and really putting these things into your calendar. Don't make them into this like overwhelming, overstimulating color scheme. But really, all these things that you have made now set as your priority and that that are so important to you that they've made it into your written vision, put them in your calendar. Set reminders, set notes, invite people to the calendar invite so that they can hold you accountable to it if you feel like you need that level of support. I have just always believed that whatever is a priority should be visible on your calendar. And so as you are thinking about this 90-day vision, go ahead and take some time, do some time blocking, and make sure you can see your written vision actualized on your calendar. Final step, create some community accountability. I love this part. Share your written vision and your 3 promises with at least one person who loves you enough to check in on you. This could be a friend, this could be a mentor, this could be a family member, this could be someone that you have simply drafted as your accountability partner because you have a deep spiritual alignment with them. And be specific with them about what you need over the next 90 days. Be really specific, such as, hey, can we have like a weekly check-in, even if it's via text? Or can we do like a monthly touch base? Like, can we meet for coffee on the 3rd Saturday of the month? And I just share where I'm at and what I'm doing and what my progress is looking like. Or maybe it's more of, hey, would you mind maybe on Thursdays, we connect at 6 a.m. for a 15-minute power prayer? What do you need? Ask for what you need. Reach out for the support you need. I promise you that those people that God has called into your life as destiny partners are going to be so happy to support you as you are working on your vision. I think it's also really important to give your accountability partner the permission to ask you the hard questions, to hold you accountable, even to the point somewhat of discomfort. For example, if they notice, hey, there was a little, there was a mile marker that was supposed to be met last week and I didn't hear from you. And so I just wanted to make sure everything was okay and double down on that. Has that happened? I know accountability sounds wonderful and it sounds fluffy, but accountability done well can often be really uncomfortable. And so I want you to buckle in for that. And I want you to give your designated destiny partner over the next 90 days the permission to do that and to have the understanding between the two of you that it is in love. I also want to just remind you, lastly, that sacred self-management is not about perfection. It's about partnering with God and making promises to you and creating systems and structures whereby you keep those promises and manifest that vision. It's about being a good steward of the gift that God has given you, the time that you have in this earth, and the calling that you uniquely have been given. It's about writing the vision, making it plain, time blocking and planning, and creating the structures that will help you actually live them out. My sister, you are called to be a good steward of everything that God has given to you. Your time, your energy, your gifts, your calling. And that requires getting clear about where you're going and creating the systems and structures to actually get there. It requires writing the vision and making it plain. Your vision matters. Your dreams matter. The promises that you make to you matter. Your community matters. And the structures that you create to protect your time and to manifest your vision also matter. This is sacred work, and you don't have to do it alone. I know we're nearing the end of this year. And so this next couple of episodes, I want to talk to you about the importance of delight in your personal growth. Everything can't be all about the work. And as we are entering into a season where it's festive and it's joyful and there's not as much going on, I want to give you the green light to plug into the spirit of delight. And we'll conclude this year by just doing some, reflection work and some forecasting for next year. And I want to end this episode by just letting you know that in January 2026, I will be resuscitating my coaching practice. And if you are looking for a coach who is standing once again in the intersection of faith and spirituality and personal growth and development, who will be so honored to be your destiny partner, to hold you accountable to your vision, to help you clarify your vision, and to tap into your inner resolve to be able to manifest that thing and own 2026, I'd be so happy to be your coach. I've been coaching now for the last 3 years on a certified basis, but, like most women in ministry, have been coaching women, sort of on an official basis for the last 20 years. And so if you are looking for a destiny partner, if you need a coach to help you bring some things to life and to hold you accountable to what God is impressing upon your spirit, I would be honored to be that coach. And so if you would like to get some more information, it is all on my website, revnichelle.com. And I'd be happy to have a conversation with you to see if we're a good fit. So on that note, sis, thank you for joining me in this wide open space. If this episode blessed you, please share it with a sister who needs it. Subscribe, rate, and review to help other listeners find us. And as you go, may you walk boldly in your calling and flourish in the wide open space God has prepared just for you. Be blessed, be bold, and be beautifully you.